Sox, Yankees, Pedro, Pettit. Red Sox fans in the audience? Really, that's it? Come on! Yankee fans? All right, we live in the heart of fandom here. So, it was a day at Fenway. In fact, it was such a day at Fenway that Steve Ketman wrote a book about the day at Fenway, and I was there. I can prove it. I actually have a ticket stub that said I was there. You know, people say, oh, I was at that game. I was at that game. And it wasn't really special because this guy wrote a book. It was really special because it was one of the last games I get to go with my dad before he passed away. And as you know, back then, in 2003, Red Sox were just bought out by the new management group, and they were hot. And it was the hottest ticket in town. And not only was it the hottest ticket in town, the monster seats were just opened up that year with the hottest of the hot. And I had 2 tickets on the monster seats with my dad. So let me rewind. 2 years prior, my dad had been going through some problem with his knees. So he went through knee replacement surgery, and it didn't go well. He had surgery, he had to have it over again, he just couldn't get through the rehab. He kept getting these really bad infections. So they were pumping in every antibiotic on the planet, vancomycin, everything. And he just couldn't get better. So the summer 2000, he stopped having really bad stomach pain. And they're like, well, yeah, we're pumping you with antibiotics. You know, you're not going to get, you're going to have stomach pain. That's a side effect. Well, the antibiotics wasn't causing his stomach to have problems. It was he had a grapefruit-sized tumor growing out of his stomach. So I don't know if any of you have family members with cancer, and if any of you have experienced stomach cancer. You get stomach cancer, it's pretty much a death sentence. If it breaks out of the lines of your stomach, it's all over. There's too many blood supplies there, too much stuff to grow, you can't operate on it. So we knew at that point that my dad's life was temporary. And we were going to make the best of it. Fast forward from that point to the March of, the February of 2003. One of my best friends, Mike, he went to Rensselaer Polytech. In his fraternity, they had, kind of like we have here, they had Red Sox fans and Yankee fans. They had this inter-house rivalry, and when this group of guys graduated, they kept their rivalry, but they kept their brotherhood too. And every year, they would go to Yankee Stadium or Fenway Park for a game. So one year it'd be Yankee Stadium, and the next year Fenway Park. Well, that year happened to be, it was going to be at Fenway, and my buddy Mike was going to host. So on a cold February morning, he got his butt out of bed. He lived over on Beacon Street, and he walked over to the park. And he went in line and got monster seats, because it was his first year, they just had the tickets come out. He was able to get 8 monster seats, and he got a bunch of other bleacher seats. So he got over 25 tickets to one of the hottest games of the season was going to be. And as that game got closer, Mike knew that my dad and I were really close with baseball fans, and although he needed to supply tickets to all of his friends for this game, he felt really strong that, hey, I really want you and your dad to go. I know how much it means to you. And not only do I want you to go, I want you to have monster seats. I'm like, geez, really? I can't take those tickets, Mike. I mean, these are your friends, these are your brothers. He's like, no, you're my brother too. And so that day, we went to Fenway Park, and so my dad, because of his knee surgery, he couldn't walk, so he was in a wheelchair. So that was the year also, last time we were in Fenway Park, they have Yorkie Way is part of the venue now, right? So you walk onto Yorkie Way, you have to present your ticket. Now all the venue, like all of the food stands are there, and so I'm wheeling my dad up to the turnstile, and of course you can't get a wheelchair through a turnstile, and so this way with the wheelchair. So I kind of wheel him over and let back the chain, and I come through. And we walk in, and it's like, nobody's taking my ticket. But that was the first time I'd ever gone through that part of the park. I'd never been to the park in that context before. So we're in there, so all right, we go to Louis Tina's, we get a Cuban sandwich, a couple of beers, and we're, all right, Dad, let's go into the park. So we wheel him into the park, and I'm thinking, okay, where do I give my ticket? And nobody asked for a ticket. It's kind of strange. So I go over to the elevator. Now, because you're in a wheelchair, the only way to get up to the monster seats was to go to the luxury box level, because that's the only part of the park that's like on the same level. So we go up there, and of course there's a security guard, very discerning about, hey, who's coming up to the rich person section, So I was like, obviously I got my father, like, where you guys going? Monster seats. Sorry, it's not there. So we wheel over to the monster seats. So we get there, and nobody's taking my ticket. And I'm like, So, we wheel them up, we sit there, and I'm like, I gotta call Mike, because Mike isn't there yet. Hey Mike, I'm on the monster seats, and I got 2 tickets that haven't been touched. Meet me at Sausage King. So I walk over to the wall, put the tickets in an envelope. Hey Mike, we got the tickets. Flip them down. And I was kind of a little dishonest. I know. I think the Red Sox will be okay. I think they're going to make it. So 2 tickets went back down. So that meant 2 other people, 2 of his other brothers could get up into the seats. And they took 2 of the bleacher seats. He sold them $75 a piece. And we ate and drank like kings that day. It was a great day with my dad. We signed the foul pole, the Fisk foul pole. And it was a really great memory. But, you know, the ominous part, the cancer was there and it was going to get him. And, you know, so when I think of this story, it's like, we got a free pass. We got a free pass to Fenway Park. It was really cool. We get to sit in the monster seats. But I think back to my dad and the cancer he had. In an ironic or morbid way, cancer kind of gave him a free pass too, in a way, right? We knew that his days were numbered and that every moment we had left was treasured. It was special. There was never a day that I left him that I didn't tell him I loved him. There was never an argument. There was nothing left unsaid. And through the rest of that season, we all know how that 2003 season ended, right? You know, Grady Little, take Pedro, what are you doing? We lose, and it was horrible. But then the next year, so I shared that with my dad, and we were sitting on the phone like, Dad, why isn't he taking him out? What is he doing? And then the next year when they won after being down 3-0 and they came back and we shared that moment too. And I think back to that time and I said, you know, it was one of the best moments of my life with my dad and I had 2 free passes.